What it do, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of The Axis of Combat. This is episode 84, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC 311. It's your boy Ray Boogie Kahuna, my co-host.
Who go the boss? Who go next? You already know. And before we get into any of that business, you already know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, follow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Everybody enjoying these visuals right now, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date.
And for all of our audio listeners, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, you already know.
First fight on the card at men's flyweight, we have Tagir Ulanbekov going one-on-one with Clayton Carpenter. Ulanbekov, 15-2 overall, fighting out of Russia, hailing from Russia, 33 years old. Clayton Carpenter, perfect, 8-0, fighting out of Phoenix, Arizona, 28 years old. Decent way to start off the fight card, in my opinion here. I'll start on the Tagir Ulanbekov side. Trains with Khabib Nurmagomedov. Wrestling background. He's a guy who, in my opinion, I feel like, I guess for lack of better terms, I feel like he's a little bit fraudulent. Let me explain why. I feel like he wants to strike. He has decent striking, has a decent jab. Really lacks the power to really command that space where his bread and butter is, and where, you know, he feels more comfortable is on the ground. Got a lot of submission wins. He's going against a guy here in Clayton Carpenter who is a decent wrestler, super young, but he's not as green as the typical 24-year-old that you see here. Even though his record is little, it's, you know, it's small. It's perfect, 8-0, but I think this fight probably should be aligned a little closer. I do think Tagir is the favorite. I think he's the rightful favorite. I am going to be picking Tagir to win here. What scares me is that Tagir can be taken down. I think in his only loss in the UFC, that was against Tim Elliott.
Yeah.
Tim Elliott was able to take him down at will, especially early in the fight. Kind of squeaked out a win there. I thought he lost that fight, but I think that's kind of like karma for the fight previous that Tagir had, where I thought he lost against as Nascimento.
Right.
They ended up giving that to him. Tagir kind of fights and kind of lacks IQ, in my opinion. I see whenever he fights and he's kind of in danger, he's always looking to his corner. And then whenever they show the quick shot to Khabib's just fucking straight up yelling at him like whatever, some crazy whatever shit that he's saying in Dagestani.
Russian.
In Russian, yeah.
Oh my God.
But I think Clayton can give him issues here in the wrestling department. The striking, I do think Clayton's got the power edge. He is the finisher in terms of the stand-up. That being said, Tagir, just a little more experienced. Not too confident about it, but I do think Tagir by decision is the way I'm leaning, and that's going to be my official pick.
Yeah, I'm leaning with Tagir as well. I think Tagir has an underrated jab, like a very strong jab, and you see a lot of his opponents, they don't really know how to deal with it. I think Tagir's had the better strength of schedule. I think Tagir has taken some time off, probably worked on a few things. I'm not too sold on Clayton Carpenter yet. I don't think he's really fought anybody at this level. I do agree with you with the stand-up ability and the finishing ability on the feet, but on the floor, Tagir is has a very good head and arm choke series. And if he's able to hurt Clay in any way to the body and or catch him in a wrestling scrambler when he a wrestling scramble where he's able to get his head in his neck, I feel like Tagir has a lot of finishing capability from that position. With that said, I'm on Tagir here. I'm gonna go by decision, but I'm not very confident in how to play this. The line may be just about right. I think it's a little disrespectful. I think maybe Tagir should be maybe a minus 250. But I just feel like outside of maybe getting a clean shot, I have a hard time seeing how Clayton's going to beat him or be able to control him on the floor for long periods of time. Only thing that worries me about Tagir is his cardio a bit. And I feel maybe in the third round, Clayton might be able to have some success. But I'm not sure Clayton is going to have great cardio wrestling into a wrestler that's as good as Tagir either. This is definitely a big step up in competition for Clayton. We'll see how the fight goes. Not sure how I'm going to bet it, to be honest. Not sure I'm going to bet it at all, just for the simple fact that there's a lot of question marks on the Clayton side, and there's a lot of unknown on the Clayton side, and then Tagir late in fights does gas. That much I will say. But Tagir's the lead, for sure.
Next fight on the card at men's lightweight, we have KGD Grant Dawson going one-on-one with Diego Ferreira. Dawson, 22-2-1, fighting out of Coconut Creek, Florida, 30 years old. Diego Ferreira, 19-5, fighting out of McAllen, Texas, but repping Brazil, 40 years old. Diego's a dog. I like Diego. I've underestimated Diego a couple of times, particularly in his last fight where he went one-on-one with Rebecca, and maybe I was on the Rebecca side for a bit then, and I was looking pretty good in that first round. Rebecca was giving him work and putting it on him, but Diego, that damn dirty dog Diego, hey, like every other fight, man, if you don't break him, he's going to break you. Solid overall fighter, decent striking. His striking has improved over time, in my opinion, but his bread and butter is the ground, the jiu-jitsu. Going one-on-one here with Grant Dawson, who, you know what Grant Dawson's going to do. Wet blanket.
Right.
He just wants to take you down, hold you down, beat you up, grind you out. Excellent wrestler, mediocre striker. Question mark on the chin. Don't know. Bobby Green.
Laser beam
on Bobby Green. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be picking Grant Dawson here. To be honest, not with too much confidence, but I do think he will get this one done. I do worry only because I always go back to that fight that he had with
Ricky Glenn.
I always go back to that fight with Ricky Glenn where he was dog walking Ricky for the first 2 rounds. Ricky didn't give up and pretty much essentially put that man to sleep right at the end of the fight. And if it wasn't for Krause picking him up and walking him off, I think they would have either ruled that Ricky win or draw, worst case scenario. They ended up giving that to Dawson, right? That was a Dawson win?
No, it was a draw, majority draw.
So it was a draw.
Majority draw.
That was low-key. Glenn kind of put him out. Diego, way better jiu-jitsu on the ground and a better scrambler. A guy that's kind of historically hard to hold down. He's fought decent wrestlers in the past, but he is 40. That's what worries me here. There's a 10-year age gap here, and just give me Grant Dawson here. I think Grant Dawson probably does have the opportunity to finish. So give me Grant Dawson. I'll say 3rd round decision. I think that's my official pick.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Diego Ferreira, particularly after USADA, there's some question marks, like the departure from USADA.
Allegedly.
Yeah. I don't want to make any accusations, but that last fight with Rebecca, I thought for sure he was going to fall off a cliff with his cardio, and he
turned back the clock, man.
He looked good. He turned back the clock, all right. Yeah. Post USADA.
Allegedly.
So, now here's what I will say. Grant Dawson is not going to get tired like Rebecca. Grant Dawson, I think, has better entries with his wrestling and his body-lock takedowns relative to Rebecca. I'm not saying Diego can't win this fight, but I just think that it's more than likely that Grant's going to get this done. I think Grant's going to be able to get him to the floor, control him. The way he cut through Chavez, and I'm not comparing Chavez to Ferreira because Chavez doesn't have the jiu-jitsu that Ferreira has, but I just feel like Grant's going to welcome the scrambles, and I feel like he's going to gas out Ferreira and then eventually get to his positions where he can land some serious ground and pound like he did in his last fight or work to a sub. I think it's going to be a knockout finish. I think Grant Dawson gets his back, mounts him, and just goes to work on him, especially later in 2nd, 3rd round. I like the 3rd round decision play. It could happen sooner, though, because depending on how Ferreira looks, if he's on, any special sauce heading into this fight.
Allegedly.
And if he looks fantastic on the scale, I might change my mind there, but I'm in compliance with you. I think Grant Dawson, 3rd round decision. I do think Grant Dawson gets it done in this fight. Give me Grant Dawson by knockout, either 2nd, 3rd round in this fight.
Next fight on the card at men's bantamweight, we have Ricky Turcios going one-on-one with the Lion King, Benardo Sopaj. I wonder if he could get DMCA'd for that. I'm not too sure. Turcios, 12-4, fighting out of Houston, Texas, 31 years old. Benardo Sopaj, 11-3, fighting out of Sweden, hailing from Sweden, 24 years old. This fight was supposed to take place, I think, on UFC 100, the one that took place in Tampa with Kobe and Joaquim. I think Turcios was the one that ended up pulling out of that one. Rescheduled for this pay-per-view. My concerns for the Benardo side is that maybe he's coming back a little too soon. Listen, he's 24. The knockout that he suffered in his last fight was devastating.
Vicious Vinicius.
Vicious by Vinicius.
Sounds like a cologne.
Yo, yeah. Savage. Johnny Depp. But I think 10 months is probably a decent turnaround. He is young. I hope he's okay there. I don't think he has to worry about any kind of power coming his way. His opponent, Enrique Turcios, he's a dog. Scrappy, hard to hold down, squirmy, high volume, walks forward, big pressure, but, lacks in the finishing department. I think Benardo also doesn't get enough credit for stepping in last minute against Vinicius. Wasn't Vinicius' original opponent. The concerns that I have for Benardo, 1, the chin. I think that's okay. 2, the cardio, because in that fight, he kind of was giving Vinicius work those first 2 rounds. He's got decent striking. I think he's a better wrestler. He was able to take Vinicius down, ground and pound him, beat him up a little bit, but his cardio kind of just fell off a cliff. I'm going to attribute that to the last minute nature of that fight. I'm thinking that he's going to come in more prepared. I think he's going to win this fight. This is probably another 3rd round decision for me here. I'm going to be leaning Benardo to get the win here. That's going to be my official pick.
Yeah, I think this is like a line correction. I think I think Sopaj should probably be a bigger favorite. I feel like Turcios easy to take down.
Yes. Terrible takedown defense.
Benardo, yeah, he got knocked out by Vinicius, but as you mentioned, he was giving him the work the first 2 rounds. He was winning that fight till he wasn't, but he also took that fight on short notice, so I'm not going to question his gas tank. I think that was just a high-paced fight with a guy that he took on like a couple of days to a week's notice or something like that, so I can't fault him for that.
I mean, this is another fight where his gas probably will get tested, but
Turcios is a guy that can make him work for it, but I feel like he'll be prepared. He took the year off after the vicious knockout from Vinicius. Buy it now in your local Macy's. He's
Savage.
He's I love my trade. He's I feel like Ricky can present problems just with the cardio and just the pressure, but if you want the real, Sopaj is just a better fighter. He's the cleaner striker. He does everything better in my opinion. I think this is Benardo's fight to lose. Give me Benardo. I'm gonna say I agree with you. Third round of decision, but he could finish him earlier if he catches him in like a front headlock choke. But I don't see. I think it probably goes to decision more times than not. Give me Benardo by decision here.
Next fight on the card at men's bantamweight, we have Payton Talbott going 1-on-1 with Raoni Barcelos. Talbott, perfect. 9-0, fighting out of Reno, Nevada, 26 years old. Barcelos is 18-5, fighting out of Brazil, repping Brazil, 37 years old. I'll start on the Raoni Barcelos side here. Fucking dog. Excellent fighter, high IQ, throws in volume, great jiu-jitsu, solid wrestling. But unfortunately here, he's 37. I feel like, in my opinion, maybe half a step behind. I feel like he wants to do things in that octagon, but his body just doesn't cooperate the same way. Doesn't have the same, vigor. I think Talbot probably finishes Barcelo here. It's going to be a rough watch because it's going to be like watching your dad get washed up. It's one of those fights, like, Dad, no, please. Because I like Raoni. I think Ronnie's a very good fighter, and he's one of those guys that don't sleep on him. I mean, in his last fight against, I think, Quinones was winning that fight, but, Quinones and Barcelos, the IQ jump there was apparent. Because, Quinones got a little comfortable, made a little mistake. And all it takes is one mistake. Barcelos took his neck.
Correct.
Right in that 3rd round. Excellent fighter. A good step up for Payton Talbot, in my opinion. But I do think Payton, even though I still have questions about his wrestling defense, it has been getting better. This is going to be a decent test here. And I don't like the fact that he kind of leans on his chin for defense. But the kid is young. The kid's a Terminator. Give me Talbot for the win. Probably ITD. 50-50 on the finish.
Yeah, if you're asking me, I agree with you with him working on his takedown defense because he is with Alpha Male with Uriah and he's working with a couple of, studs there to better his takedown defense. With all that said, I'm not even going to get on why Payton should win this fight and this and that. And I think it's probably going to be by knockout. I have a hard time believing he's going to sub Raoni Barcelos, like a multiple-time world jiu-jitsu champion.
Yes.
But if you're asking me, I feel like this line is out of control. I feel like this is going to get a sprinkle from me from Raoni Barcelos. I thought this line would be a little closer, to be frank. I don't think Raoni Barcelos is plus 700 in a post-USADA UFC by any stretch of the imagination. And if he looks really good on the scale, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on that plus 700. He's at plus 775 on some books, which someone that can hit the way he does, his ability to get to the back, Payton does have some deficiencies in his striking where he does swing over his feet. If this turns into a wrestling scramble, Raoni can grab his back. I mean, listen, Payton should win this fight, but plus 700, plus almost 800 on some books, it's the dogger pass spot for me, man. If you're going to pick Payton, I think you pick him first or second round knockout. If you're going to play Raoni, I think you play Raoni by sub. I think I have a hard time believing Ronnie's going to... Well, you know what? Let me not say it. Ronnie's ITD should be juiced at this point. Ronnie can finish this guy. Like, for sure. Especially post-USADA. I want to see how he looks on the scale. If he looks really good, I'm going to play him. Just as a heads up. He has the skills to beat Payton. If they were in their prime, this line would not be this wide. That's all I'm going to tell you. The only reason this line is this wide is because Ronnie's 37 and he looks every bit of 45. Right? So give me Payton via ITD, preferably knockout, but don't be surprised at a dog play once again here at Raoni Barcelos at plus 700. Give me Raoni Barcelos. Give me Payton, Talbott, Raoni probably the bet.
Next fight on the card at men's middleweight, we have the Savage Zach Reese going one-on-one with the Reaper, Sedriques Dumas. Reese, 8-1, fighting out of Shiner, Texas, 30 years old. The Reaper, Dumas, 10-2 overall, fighting out of Pensacola, Florida, 29 years old. Low-level fight, but an interesting fight.
Southern boys in this fight.
On paper, when I first seen this, I was initially like, yeah, Reese. I think Reese is going to win. Digging a little deeper into it, though, I mean, listen, Reese is big. Reese has got power. He's definitely the finisher. He's got subs. He's got knockouts. He comes forward, throws hard, but kind of like defensively deficient, in my opinion. Can be hit. Also, maybe question mark gas tank problem. Second, third round in that last fight that he had with, I think, Medina, the guy who was moving down in weight. And in my opinion, essentially like a punching bag.
Right.
Couldn't really get that guy out. Also slowed down, not tremendously, but quite a bit against them as the fight went on. Sedriques, the Jorge Masvidal career path, you know, street fighter turned MMA guy. Completely concentrating on his grappling, always improving in his grappling.
Which is the impressive part.
Which is impressive. He's got hands, but if you watch his fights, he's actually a little more conservative, a little more safe.
Smart.
And yeah, a little smarter than, you know, I think people want to give him credit for.
Correct.
This fight's going to be interesting because I think Zach Reese probably has his best chances in maybe getting Sedriques out early. But Sedriques has got a chin. I seen him take a couple of punches straight to the face. Sedriques is going to want to take him down. Reese can be taken down. Reese also tends to play off his back a little bit. I think I'm going to be leaning Sedriques here for the win. I think this fight probably goes to decision more often than not, but I think in terms of a sneaky maybe bet, I think fight ends in sub is probably decently live here. But give me Sedriques here by decision. I will be targeting some sub props depending on, you know, the lines, but I think Sedriques wins this fight, surprisingly.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think at plus 230, this is definitely a dog or pass spot on both sides. I agree with you 100%. I feel like there's a clear path to victory here for Dumas, and I feel like he will get there. Zachary Reese likes to play off his back too much. Once again, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, when you have a gentleman that likes to play off his back or a young lady that likes to play off their back, it's just not good for an MMA gambler's pockets because you're banking on someone that's not going to necessarily win minutes in the fight. For me, Zach Reese, I think he's a little too confident in his jiu-jitsu, and that's going to be a problem. I think people underestimate how good Dumas's wrestling has gotten.
And his jiu-jitsu in general. I feel like he's really been making strides in that department for sure.
He makes good decisions on the floor. Position over submission. He may bore you, but he gets dubs.
That's why I kind of like fight ends in sub is sneaky because of all the grappling exchanges. Reese will be attempting them for sure.
100%.
And Dumas, I think if he sees an opportunity, I think he will go for it.
Correct. And Reese, questionable gas tank, man. That's all I'm going to say. Like, especially he's a big guy that cuts a lot of weight.
I also think Dumas is the more athletic of the two guys. Definitely got the better cardio.
Better resume, too. He's fought the better guys.
He might be the cleaner striker in terms of like, you know, just technicality. Like he can throw him down the middle where Reese kind of wings him because he's looking for the kill.
I agree. I think Dumas has a clear path to victory. I think he gets it done. Give me Dumas by decision. I wonder what that line looks like, especially since Dumas is sitting at as high as a plus 230 right now, which is insane. His decision's got to be at least plus 400. I'm playing the shit out of that.
Next fight on the card at women's bantamweight, we have Carol Rosa going one-on-one with Fiona Ailín Pérez. Rosa, 18-6, fighting out of Brazil, repping Brazil, 30 years old. Pérez, 11-2 overall, fighting out of Miami, Florida, repping Argentina, 30 years old. This is another fight where I seen it on paper, and I automatically was like Karol Rosa.
Yeah.
And I was hoping Karol Rosa was a dog as well, but, turns out Karol Rosa's not the dog. She's the slight favorite. And digging deeper into this fight, I'm kind of switching stances here a little bit. All credit to Pérez. I think when she first came into the UFC, a little raw, a little wild, a little unorthodox. But she has been getting better. She has been working on her wrestling a lot. Her striking, I think, still a bit of a weak point in her game, but sufficient enough to do what she wants to do, which is to get the fight to the ground, right? Karol Rosa, perennial top 15er, I think, in this division. I think she's good. She's a solid fighter. If this fight stays standing, I think she beats up Ailín Pérez. She's the better striker for sure. Just look back at her Aldana fight.
Yeah, she's putting work on Aldana.
Classic.
Yeah, great fight.
I do worry about Rosa's takedown defense, though. And I think that's where Pérez is going to shine here in this particular fight. I think Pérez is going to be able to take her down and hold her down and beat her up. I'm going to be leaning Pérez for the win here. I think Pérez is going to be able to get her game going, and I think she wins by decision.
I'm with you on the decision.
And that's crazy because I'm really high on Rosa. I think she's an underrated fighter in this division. But until I see the wrestling improvement, the lack of wrestling is what scares me.
Yeah, I'm with you on Ailín. And this is a pure dog or pass spot, in my opinion. And I'm with you. As soon as I seen the matchup, I said, damn, Karol Rosa might beat her up. But then you dig into it, and it's like, okay, Ailín is probably going to be able to take her down. I would love to. This is a fight I would love to see the face-offs because I want to see how much bigger Karol Rosa is than Ailín Pérez. And I'm going to bank and say not much bigger because I don't trust these stats sometimes because they are not necessarily always accurate, to be frank, on Tapology and everywhere else that we look.
Yeah, they're a little skewed sometimes.
They're a little skewed. But from what it looks like, Ailín and her are the same size, and Karol Rosa's got an 1.5 inch reach advantage, which in MMA doesn't mean a lot, especially if it's a wrestler versus someone who is accustomed to trying to work off of their back. If Karol won this fight, would I be surprised? No.
No, not at all.
But do I think this fight's going to be close? Yes, I do. And if you're telling me the fight's going to be close or someone like Aileen's going to be able to control the wrestling positions, it's dog or pass here. She's sitting at a plus 164. I think that's appropriate. And I think that's playable. Give me Ailín Pérez. I agree by decision. I find it hard to believe she's going to sub Karol Rosa, who's a black belt. And I find it hard she's going to knock out Karol Rosa, who's durable as shit. Give me Ailín Pérez by decision.
Next fight on the card at men's light heavyweight, we have Johnny Walker going one-on-one with Bogdan Guskov. Walker, 21-9, fighting out of Brazil. Actually, repping Brazil, fighting out of Southampton, England. 32 years old. Guskov, 16-3 overall, fighting out of Russia, but repping Uzbekistan, 32 years old. Interesting light heavyweight fight here. I'm a fan of Johnny Walker, but I don't have the confidence to pick this man in any capacity. I do think what Johnny Walker should do is probably move up in weight. As crazy as it sounds, to heavyweight, only because he's a tremendously athletic, gifted guy. Fast, hits hard, can't get knockouts. Big for light heavyweight. He's going to be big for heavyweight. And I think the extra weight would help him with his chin a bit.
Yeah.
That being said, he's still here, down to light heavyweight. He's fighting the guy from Blade 2. I don't remember his name, but... Nomad. He's fighting Nomad from Blade 2 here, I was going to go with the easy, like, Anthony Smith comparison or Nosferatu, but I think we played those out already a little bit.
Yeah, no, he's Blade 2.
So I'm going Nomad from Blade 2. And listen, Bogdan, he took a step up in his last fight, and a fight that I did pick him correctly against Ryan Spann. This is another step up technically, but I think this is a fight that, I think he could win. I think Bogdan's got underrated striking, hits extremely hard. He's a little awkward, but I think he can get it done. And against a guy like Johnny, who Johnny's going to try to he's going to try to get his game going, but he's going to, at least more recently, he's going to try to slow the game down, fight down, and, really try to pick his shots. I don't think Bogdan's going to go for any of that shit.
And by the way, it's Nomac, not Nomad. My apologies.
Nomac.
I was thinking about Orabai when I thought Nomad.
But give me Bogdan here. I think Bogdan is going to knock out Johnny Walker. And unfortunately, as much as I hate seeing Johnny Walker go down, it is kind of funny the way he goes down because he's such a big, awkward dude. He just falls like the most.
He should just get into acting at this point because he falls like he got shot in a movie. He's just 100%.
And I don't like making fun of the way guys get knocked the fuck out, but I mean, Johnny Walker is hilarious when he gets knocked out.
It's always like dramatic.
He's hilarious either way. The guy's just a clown in everything he does. You know what I'm saying? And in the best way possible.
He can't die classically.
No, he can't. Or maybe over dramatically. He'll,
oh my goodness.
Give me Guskov here for the win by knockout. Early, probably first, second round.
Yeah, I'm with you on Guskov, and Guskov showed me a lot in that Ryan Spann fight because he was kind of patient in that fight, and he took his time and waited for his shots. Johnny can knock anyone out, but Guskov shown that he has a decent chin. Took a walloping from Volodymyr before he got put out of there. Ryan Spann landed on him too, was able to weather him, and Ryan's a big puncher.
Super big, super athletic.
Same body type as Johnny, and I just think Ryan has more tools right now than Johnny does. Johnny shot. We made a lot of money off of him the last time when he fought Ozdemir. I call that shit to a T. I don't know how Ozdemir was dog money at all on that shit. Ozdemir dude, that dude competed for a title, man. You got to put some respect on his name, and he can grapple, and he thumbs. He used to be Rumble's training partner. But with that said, that's Guskov's only real loss in the UFC. Both of them have lost to Ozdemir. He knocked out Zach Puga, whatever. That was a give me fight.
He did what he needs to do with that guy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but Ryan Spann was impressive because of what he did to get there.
Yes.
And I think he's going to do the same thing to Johnny. I think he knocks him out probably first, second round. Give me Guskov, a.k.a. Nomak from Blade 2, to knock this guy out within the first 2 rounds.
Next fight on the card at men's heavyweight, we have Jailton Almeida going one-on-one with the Polar Bear, Serghei Spivac. Almeida, 21-3, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 33 years old. Spivac, 17-4, fighting out of Moldova, repping Moldova, 29 years old. Another fight that when I seen this, I was like, you know what? This is kind of even. 2 guys who like to grapple, 2 guys who have, below or subpar striking. Interesting matchup on paper, but I'm going to be leaning Almeida here, and I'm going to be leaning Almeida here for a couple of reasons. One, way more athletic, way more explosive, and I think more confident in what he wants to do than Spivac. I feel like Spivac
mental lapses.
Has some mental lapses. That's correct. I think he knows what he wants to do, but I think he tries to 4D chest himself into these positions where I don't know. I think he just overthinks, or he doesn't think enough, or there's just lack of confidence. He can break, something I don't like, and particularly as a bettor. I don't like to bet on those kind of guys. I do think Spivac has potential to be very good in this division, but he needs to make some leaps and bounds, particularly in the striking and particularly in the confidence. Give me Almeida here. I think he's gonna do what he needs to do what he wants to do. He's gonna take Spivac down. He's going to beat him up, and I think he's probably going to get a sub on Spivac here. Give me Almeida by sub.
Well, for 1, I like fight ends and sub, for sure. For 2, I like this as a better live bet spot for Spivac. If you think if Spivac gets out the first round and you see Jailton huffing and puffing, I think you play him.
Or panicking, because, Almeida...
Yeah, he's Jailton's a little fraudulent, man. I
don't think he's extremely fraudulent, but...
He's a little fraudulent. Not extremely, but he's a little fraudulent. I'm with you on the lean. I think he probably does get him down. I mean, the way he moved around Curtis Blade was impressive. But what I will say is I don't think minus 355 is a justified line. I don't think he's steamrolling Spivac. If he did, I'm wrong. But if if you're asking me, I think the value is on Spivac here. I think Spivac mid-fight live bet play is the way you should play this. If not, you take initially before the fight, you take Jailton Almeida by sub, because I think he should be able to sub him. But at the same time, he could just lay on him like he did against Derek Lewis. So, I just feel like I kind of know more about how Spivac's going to look in dominant positions versus how Jailton's going to look in dominant positions. Is he going to be able to control him? Is he going to be able to sub him? Is he going to land ground and pound, which Jailton doesn't do? I feel like if you give Spivac enough opportunities to get back up and not finish him or ground and pound him out, Spivac can grapple. So it's like, is he going to get cut through like butter like the rest of Jailton's opponents? I don't know. I think it's a live bet play. For me, it's dog or pass. Give me Jailton as the lean man, but as the bet, I feel like Spivac is Spivac has the tools to beat this guy. So I'm going to say Spivac is a live dog, a live bet play. And I think he's a live dog in this fight.
Next fight at men's bantamweight, we have Rinya Nakamura, the hybrid, going one-on-one with Tagir Gafarov. Nakamura, perfect, 9-0. Fighting out of Japan, hailing from Japan, 29 years old. Gafarov, 19-6. Fighting out of Las Vegas, repping Tajikistan, 28 years old. This is not a setup fight, but this is a fight that I think Nakamura easily wins here. Nakamura, extensive wrestling background, highly decorated wrestler from Japan, very good wrestler, decent striking, has power, and so far so good in the UFC. Everybody they put in front of him, he's knocked them down. He don't play around. Nakamura is very good. Gafarov, an exciting fighter, has decent striking, has decent power, goes for takedowns, he goes forward, he's relentless, but can't get into brawls, can't get reckless, can't get all loosey-goosey, and that's not the style of fight you want to fight with Nakamura. I think Nakamura is going to be able to do what he wants to do with Gafarov. Give me Nakamura here, ITD. I'm probably going to lean KO, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a sub finish here either. I don't think this fight goes the distance either way because of the style of both guys. But I think Nakamura is gonna run through Gafarov, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you on Nakamura. There's a couple of guys in the UFC, when you see them wrestle, you're wild. And then what's even scary is that their opponents are wild. And Nakamura is one of those guys. I think if Saeed's able to get a front headlock choke on this guy, I feel like Nakamura is fully capable of doing the same. Nakamura just has better entries to get to those positions relative to Saeed. Saeed kind of leans on his striking and kind of lets his striking do the talking before he kind of gets into the grappling exchanges. But I feel like Rinya is the real deal. I think he's the goods. I think they're doing the right thing. They're matchmaking him properly. I don't want to say this is a setup fight, but this is the main fight on the prelims. Is the headlining fight of the prelims. So I do believe in UFC narratives. I do believe in this kid's skills. I do believe in Gafarov's ability to get finished. Give me Nakamura by however he wants, and that's where it's gonna go. It's definitely ITD. If it's a playable spot, sure. Even if he gets hurt, he's gonna have spaces where he can stay safe, and those are the fighters you like to bet on. Guys that finish. But they also have the ability to stay safe in certain positions where they know they're not going to catch a ton of damage. Give me Nakamura by however he wants. Let's get to the main card.
Next fight on the card, at men's light heavyweight, we have Benny Dariush going one-on-one with Renato Money Moicano. Renato. Dariush is 22-6-1, fighting out of Huntington Beach, California, but repping Assyria, right? I think I said that correctly. 35 years old. Money Moicano, 25-1, fighting out of Coconut Creek, Florida, but repping Brazil, 35 years old. Now, if they made this fight a year ago, I think people were going to be, I think they'd be picking Dariush all day, right? Recency bias is a son of a bitch, man. And, even though both these guys are 35, I think Dariush is an older 35.
Gray hairs and all.
I'm going to be leaning Money Moicano here. He's been on a bit of a roll. Always thought that he had underrated striking. I think people don't talk about his striking enough. Obviously, Moicano's like jiu-jitsu's, top tier. Dariush, extremely very good on the ground. Also underrated striker, but I feel like he's lost a bit of a step. It's almost a Tony Ferguson thing where he was so hot for so long.
He was hot for a minute.
No, he was hot for a bit. And then, but he got to the point where it's like now he had to fight some of those younger guys, and I feel like the fall off is real here for Dariush, low key. I think if it gets to the ground, I think it's a 50-50 fight. I think it's a fight that I don't think Moicano's going to force to the ground. I think Moicano's going to want to keep this on the feet. And I think if this fight stays on the feet, I think Moicano's got the advantage. Even though, again, like if anybody clips anybody here, somebody's going to go down. If I had to bet knockdowns, that's an easy bet. But I'm going to be picking Moicano here to win. I think this fight probably doesn't go. Give me Moicano by knockout. I think he's going to get it done. And I think the money train's going to keep rolling for Moicano.
Payday. You want payday?
I hope he says it exactly that way, too.
I'll die. Yeah, if you're asking me, I'm one of the few guys that, like, I respect Beneil on the floor. I think he's filthy on the floor. But as an MMA guy, from an MMA standpoint, I've always thought he's been one of the most overhyped guys. I'm just going to call it what it is. His striking is good, but he does swing wide. Chin has always been suspect. Even when he knocked out Drakkar, which kind of revamped his career, he got stung in that fight first against a guy who is not necessarily the biggest puncher. I don't know, man. I just feel like Renato, I agree with you, 50-50 fight on the floor. But if Renato lands on him, I think he'll hurt. If they land on each other at the same time, Renato's going to hurt him more than Beneil hurts him. I think Renato's going to get it done by knockout. I have a hard time believing any of these boys are going to sub each other. I think it's going to go a lot like the Charles Oliveira fight. I think Renato's going to close distance, land a good shot on him, put him down. And Renato has been very open to fights that he thinks he can win lately. He's doing a smart thing. Like he said, if he fought Max Holloway right now, Max would beat him up. I tend to agree with him, even though I think Max is on the verge of being shot at this point too. And I hate to say it because Max is one of my favorite fighters ever, but he's just, you could tell his ability to take a shot is not the same.
Yeah.
But going back to the point, I think Renato's actually handpicking particular fights that make sense for him to get to that belt. And I think this is a very good selection for him. A guy that he knows will probably respect his ground game as well. With that said, I think this fight's more respectable on the floor. I think Beneil's way better than BSD on the floor. So I think it stays standing. If you're telling me if it stays standing, what's going to happen? I think Renato puts his lights out. Give me Renato by knockout.
Next fight on the card, at men's middleweight, we have the Trailblazer, Kevin Holland, going one-on-one with the Dutch Knight, Reinier de Ridder. Holland, 26-12, fighting out of Fort Worth, Texas, 32 years old. The Ridder, 18-2, fighting out of the Netherlands, repping the Netherlands, 34 years old. This fight just stinks. It stinks all over.
I agree.
I love Holland, but, can be a little lackadaisical in there, can, maybe, be 1 or 2 IQ points short sometimes of a win. But he's an excellent striker, excellent submission defense. What's that? The darts choke series.
His head and arm choke series, very good.
Very good, but he can be taken down. That's his kryptonite. Going one-on-one here with the Ridder, who I think some people are sold on him. I'm not. I still think he's like a little bit overrated. I think he's just a slightly better GM3 in my opinion.
Younger.
His striking, he's got power. I don't think his striking is that good, if I'm being completely honest. His bread and butter is the ground, is submissions. He will work. He will continue to be active down there. He will search for subs. That's where he wants to fight. I'm kind of like at a crossroads here because I feel like I got to pick the Ridder here only because of Kevin Holland's, wrestling, grappling deficiencies. If this fight stays on the feet, I think Kevin Holland knocks him the fuck out.
I agree.
In my opinion, it's hard to trust either side here. I'm going to be leaning the Ridder because of the grappling upside, and I think maybe fight ends in sub is probably not that crazy here, even though the Ridder's never been subbed and it's probably fought better jiu-jitsu guys. I mean, Kevin Holland is always sneaky, and Kevin Holland, when he's got his, when he wants to fight and he shows up, he can show up. I mean, I don't know. I like Holland. I'm rooting for Holland, but if you're laying out the facts in front of me, I think I gotta lean the Ridder for the win here.
Yeah, that conversation and those points that you mentioned kind of talked me onto the Ridder here, for a lot of reasons. Ridder's also huge for the division, by the way.
It's a big guy.
He should be fighting probably at 205. Like, he's big. Fight ends in sub is exactly what I talked to you off the podcast about. I think that's exactly what I would lean. And then you've seen GM3 put him in a compromising position the last fight too, and late in the fight. And I think it was a head and arm choke series guillotine as well.
And even GM3 just having success in the striking department,
it says a lot.
Was hilarious to me. That's what scares me because Kevin Holland.
Way better.
Extremely way better strike. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to strike.
Correct.
Kevin Holland wants to stand and bang.
And I had mentioned on the podcast, a lot of people were just like completely writing GM3 off for like the knockout and having success on the feet. And I mentioned on the podcast that GM3 is the better striker.
Yeah, the Ridder's just got power, man.
He's just big.
Like, his striking is just like, it's unorthodox, but it's ugly. And I don't like it. I think his striking defense is a little subpar as well.
It's ass. We could I'll be the bad person. It's us. I'm not very sold on him as a fighter in general, but you have to lead him in this fight just because of the path to victory here. And if he does get Kevin to the floor, he can give Kevin some fits. Don't know if he'll stop him, but at dog money, you play him at dog money. This is a pure dog or pass spot, in my opinion. And that's where I'm at with this. I got to lean the bigger guy who has the wrestling and grappling edge, who has a path to victory here. But I do love the fight ends in sub prop here. I love it. I think Ritter does put his head into some compromising positions. He is subject to guillotines. He walks into guillotines. He is the Cody Durden of 185. It's just what it is. He always finds his head in the wrong places. Give me fight ends in sub here. I'll lean the Ritter, but not with a high degree of confidence.
Next fight on the card at light heavyweight, we have BJP. Jiří Procházka going one-on-one with Sweet Dreams Jamal Hill. Procházka, 35-1, fighting out of the Czech Republic, repping the Czech Republic, 32 years old. Sweet Dreams Jamal Hill, 12-2 overall, fighting out of Michigan, 33 years old. Kind of excited for this fight. I'm not going to lie to you. This is a fight that's kind of been building offline or online, depending on where you're at, right? Jiří, a guy who I've tried to fade before, you know. Damn you.
Rackage.
Damn you, Rackage. All you had to do was fucking wrestle. Ay. But listen, Jiří.
Rackage is a donk officially.
Unorthodox striker. Hits hard.
Big.
There's no quitting the man. This man, if there's a will, there's a way. He's going to try to find his way to win in every fight. But I'm going to be leaning Jamal Hill here.
Sweet dreams, baby.
Sweet dreams. I think this is a you must have forgot kind of fight, because Jamal Hill is actually a very skilled fighter, in my opinion.
High fight IQ.
I think his striking's underrated. I think his wrestling, if he wants to go there, underrated. Can take Jiří down if he wanted to. I think Jiří is going to be in a bit of trouble here. I think Jamal Hill should win this fight. I think Jamal Hill is going to win this fight, and I think Jamal Hill is going to get him. I think he's going to get him out by KO. Sub is probably a little sneaky here, but I think Jamal Hill is going to want to put hands on Jiří. Give me Jamal Hill via KO. I think he's going to win the battle here between who's the worst of Alex Perez's sons here.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I'm with you on Jamal. I just to piggyback off the points you made, he has actually pretty good takedown defense too. You mentioned he has good takedown offense, which I agree with. His takedown defense is pretty good. His ability to get out of weird spots with jiu-jitsu, which he did against Glover multiple times during their fight, impressive. Jiří's not going to compromise him like that. And he's not going to have the same submission threats. Jamal can also fight off his back foot for 5 rounds. He's shown it. And Rakic can't do it. Dominic Reyes couldn't do it. Jamal can. Jamal did it against Glover, who I think is a cleaner striker than Jiří. And he did it for 5 rounds and teed off of him. Set a record at middleweight for most strikes landed. Dominated the fight. 50-45 them. 50-44 them on one of the cards. Glover literally put work on Jiří, was able to find spots. I think Jamal's going to find the spots on Jiří because Jiří's so hittable. Jiří, the biggest thing he has going for him is the unpredictability. But I think he's fighting a good athlete in there. A guy that can move his feet actively during the fight, makes good decisions, knows when to engage, knows when to step back, also has a good chin. Outside of Ferreira, but everyone who gets hit with that left hand gets knocked out.
Yeah, Pérez is just a beast.
And by the way, what I did notice, Jiří has also been talking about fighting a little more calculated recently. I think if he decides to do that, I think it's going to be bad news Jiří.
I think that's a detriment to him.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think
he can't fight calculated.
Unless it's against Rakic.
Yeah.
Which wasn't really calculated. He kind of took a beating before he started putting beats on Rakic. Kind of tried to do the same thing and fight the technical game with Pereira. Got knocked the fuck out again. And I think if he is coming in patient and going to try and come with that game plan, I think it's going to hurt him in this fight because I think Jamal's going to know when to press forward and when to sit back. And the fact that this is a 3-round fight, I think favors Jamal because he's not going to have to worry about having to not unload in certain spots on Jiří's face. Give me Jamal Hill, man. I think he's the better boxer. I think he's going to find the spots, and I think he's going to know when to be safe in this fight. I think he's going to be by decision low-key. But if he knocked him out, I'm not going to be surprised either. Give me Jamal Hill by decision, but not with a high degree of confidence. Jamal Hill decide, confident, but not how. I don't know how. It could be by knockout or decision, but I'm going to lean decision for you guys.
Next fight up at bantamweight. And for the bantamweight championship, of the world, the co-main event of the evening, we have Merab the Machine Davishvili going one-on-one with Umar Nurmagomedov. Merab, 18-4, the champion, fighting out of Garden City Park, New York, but repping Georgia, 34 years old. Umar Nurmagomedov, perfect, 18-0, the challenger, fighting out of Russia, hailing from Russia, 29 years old. Excellent fight. A fight that is definitely Merab's toughest match to date. Probably the toughest match he has in this whole division.
Agreed.
A fight that Merab probably didn't want immediately. I think a fight that the UFC kind of pigeonholed Merab into taking.
I felt bad for him.
I do feel bad. I think Merab kind of wanted to, get
at least 1 or 2 paydays.
Yeah, exactly.
Even one. Give him an easy payday, give him a dunk, and then he'll fight the guy.
Exactly. He wanted to milk his reign a bit. Get some money here, get some easy fights. I mean, the issue is that his biggest strength is his Achilles heel, right? I mean, he's been running through guys.
Correct.
So it's like when you run through guys,
can't justify rematches.
You can't really justify rematches, So like Sean O'Malley can't justify that. If you want to run back with Cejudo, you really can't justify that.
Peter Yan,
you really can't justify that. It's tough. You got to give him a new opponent here. And Umar has been waiting in the wings. And I think Umar is going to be the side for me here. The better striker, probably the more powerful of the two guys. I do question Merab's chin a bit. I mean, he gets hit, he hits the ground. You know his game, relentless, pressure, takedown, chain takedown. Umar has the wrestling to deal with that. Umar, arguably the better technical wrestler, is probably going to be able to hold Merab down or at least give Merab some more fits than, Merab is used to. I guess the short end of it is I just think Umar is the better overall fighter. And I think he's going to present challenges to Merab that Merab has not encountered. And it's a 5-round fight. I don't think it's going to be one-sided because Merab is a beast. But Merab doesn't have the striking that can give Umar trouble. Merab doesn't have the control that can really give Umar trouble on the ground either. Doesn't really threaten submissions. It's tough. It's going to be a good fight. High pace, high action. Definitely going to test out Umar's cardio for sure. But I think Umar's got the goods. I think Umar is the side. And I'm probably going to lean decision.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I'm going to keep it nice and sweet. The only thing that you didn't mention, and you're going to agree with me, is that he's also the better submission grappler here.
Yes.
Umar. And the only place where it's going to be competitive
just a better finisher in general.
Yeah. Only place it's going to be competitive is in the wrestling exchanges.
Merab's got to show us something that he hasn't shown us before.
Merab would have to wrestle into him for 25 minutes, which he is capable of doing.
100%.
But he would have to pick him up, throw him down, pick him up, throw him down, pick him up, throw him down throughout the course of 25 minutes. And what I saw from Umar, I had questions about Umar, especially coming into this matchup prior to the Sandhagen fight. Those questions got wiped away after the Sandhagen fight.
Very impressive showing.
It was absurdly impressive. He was able to, and you could see Corey since that fight is like, fuck, am I ever going to become a champion? Because he knows how much better Umar is than him. And Corey is no joke.
No, Corey is very good. Underrated.
Lanky, can wrestle.
High IQ.
Got out wrestled in the fight. Got out scrambled by a smaller guy. Didn't have the power to really hurt him. Similarly to Merab in this situation. This is a tough fight for Merab. Don't get me wrong. If Merab was able to wrestle him, rinse and repeat, wrestle him, I just feel like when damage is the criteria for how you win rounds, Umar is going to find ways to land damage in the clinch and land damage in space before Merab can even engage in those situations.
And it's not going to be as easy to take down either.
Correct. Plus, Umar, I think Umar's going to be tougher to take down and hold down than Corey was. And Umar, I think, is more likely to wrestle into Merab than anyone else in this division.
100%.
With that said, man, I think this is Umar's fight to lose, man. Give me Umar. I'm going to go by decision here.
Next fight at men's lightweight for the lightweight championship of the world, and is currently constituted the main event of the evening. For UFC 311, we have Islam Makhachev going one-on-one with Arman Tsarukyan, and this is the run back. Makhachev, 26-1, the champion, fighting out of Russia, hailing from Russia, 33 years old. Tsarukyan, 22-3, the challenger, fighting out of Russia, but repping Armenia, 28 years old. Excellent fight. Probably the fight everybody's been looking forward to in terms of who's really going to give Islam the challenge. In their first fight, hell of a fight.
Short notice.
Short notice fight. I think, was that Tsarukyan's first fight?
In the UFC.
In the UFC. And I mean, excellent back and forth fight. Has anything changed since the first fight? I think Arman has become a better striker. Arman doesn't really have to work on his grappling. I think he's a superb grappler, superb wrestler.
You want the honest truth, guys. I think he's a better wrestler than Islam. I'll go that far.
That's a hot take.
He's better.
That's a hot take. I like it, though.
He's better than him.
But when it comes to the stand-up, I do think Islam still probably has the striking edge. I do think Islam's striking is a little underrated.
Agreed.
I think he has the power advantage as well. It's going to be another close fight. I think it's going to be another beat him up, drag him out kind of fight. If you're a fan of technique, if you're a fan of like wrestling and grapple heavy fights, this is one for you, I think. And even in the stand up, I think it's going to be an interesting fight because, like I said, I think Arman has improved in his striking. I still lean Islam there. I'm still going to lean Islam for the win here. It's tough because I think Arman is hella alive. I think when it comes to a bet, I think you have to put on Arman because, I mean, this is a 50-50 fight. The odds are not 50-50. But for a pick, I'm going to lean Islam only because I think Islam is just extremely big for this division, extremely powerful, underrated striking, and I think he still has the grappling to kind of not mitigate, but at least keep it competitive with Arman here. Give me Islam for the win by decision, but in terms of a play, you gotta sprinkle a little bit on Arman for sure because Arman is hella alive. Arman has made improvements and Arman can give Islam a run for his money, and I think this is gonna be a hell of a main event.
I'm with you. And Islam is better on the feet. I will say I think his striking is very underrated. But if you want my honest truth, and I mentioned it while you were speaking, Arman's the better wrestler here. I will always take a great freestyle wrestler over a guy that's a good Greco-Roman guy. I'm not saying Islam doesn't have any kind of freestyle wrestling in his wheelhouse, but the better open mat wrestler is Arman. And for me, open mat wrestling is better for MMA as per DC under any circumstance than a Greco-Roman guy. I'm just gonna put that out there. I think Arman's entries are better. I think Arman's ability to mix in the striking with the grappling's a little better. I think he's quicker than Islam. Islam is just huge for the division, as you mentioned, which is why I'm gonna lean him as well, but I'm gonna be very vocal about this. I'm gonna throw a unit on Tsarukyan here as a dog. Minimum. Dude, he's plus 340 on some books. You tell me how you watched the first fight. Him on short notice, didn't gas, was able to underhook and get up in certain positions when Islam was on top of him, and then able to take him down off of a underhook from his knee and knee tap him down on certain positions.
And I think this is gonna this is by far like Islam's toughest matchup in the division. I think, you know, this is the guy who's definitely given him a run for his money before. So it's like
Arman younger, brick shithouse, jacked. Yes. I mean, we just looked at some of his photos yesterday for the camp. I'm not surprised. He looked extra shredded for this fight.
And he's determined.
He's determined.
Like he really wants this fight. He really wants it bad.
I know people are going to look at the Charles Oliveira fight and have questions, but Islam is not the submission grappler Charles is, man.
He's not going to threaten yeah, he's
a front guillotine. Like that, yeah. He has capability. Don't get me wrong.
He can.
But the difference between his squeeze and Charles's squeeze, like in those positions, is, and then the ability to wrap it around plus the body frame. It's a different style matchup. This is going to be more wrestling based. I think it's going to look a lot like the first fight. It's going to be over 5 rounds. And here's the other thing too. With those wrestling exchanges, I like Arman late. I think Arman has proven that he has a better gas tank. Went 5 hard rounds with Gamrot, who will encourage those positions. No one has pushed Islam in the wrestling the way Arman has. And he was huffing a little bit in the 3rd and 4th round. Even some of the 5th against Dustin Poirier, who was not pushing him in some of those positions. He was basically hitting him with basic switches and making him work for the takedown in those against the cage. Arman will be pressing into him and putting him down and making him get up and work. And since he has a lot of like a very hard time making weight for this weight class because he is huge for the division, I feel like that shit's gonna play a factor. Give me Arman Tsarukyan. I'm gonna go by decision here. I think Arman's gonna squeak out a decision. If I had to pick it, but the money line alone, I'm gonna play it because with someone that depletes himself, if Arman lands a good shot on him, he could put him away too. But Arman is the guy to dethrone this guy, and I'm gonna pick Arman. I'm gonna pick Islam, because I think Islam's size, striking, etc. And I think the wrestling and the experience in championship fights will help him here. But as a dog at plus 340, you got to justify this line to me. And I don't think he's going to justify this line. I think Arman is live as hell. And the value play is on Arman. Give me Arman Tsarukyan via decision here.
And that does it for UFC 311 and our pretty much breakdown and coverage of this card. Hopefully We bless some of y'all degenerates and combat heads with some knowledge. Bam to the dome. But, you know, it's over. My brother, take us home.
You already know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, follow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Everybody enjoying the visual portion of this podcast, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date.
And for all of our audio listeners, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, you already know. Love you guys. This UFC 311 card is stacked. It is, in my opinion, it's a very good card.
It's a card that I'm surprised is not taking place in Riyadh, by the way. I mean, I was like...
I agree. With the talent, the particular talent from the particular parts of the world, yes, it should be taking place on that side of the world.
100%.
And listen, I don't hate that it's here. It's at a more convenient time. Listen, I don't mind the middle of the afternoon cards. I don't think you do either.
No, I love them.
I love them. Yeah, so... For me, I don't hate where it's happening, but I think we agree it probably could be in a better location. But this card, not as much fun of fighters to make as usual, because I do think there's a lot of good talent on this card. This is a very good card, pay-per-view card rather, to kick off the year. You guys should enjoy. Follow us on all social media platforms for the bets. You guys already know what the deal is. Love you guys. Hit that subscribe button, man. We got a lot of traction last year to you guys. We want more. We want more engagement.
Feed me more.
Please. Take it easy. See you guys next week. Holla at you guys. Love you guys. Peace.